I'm ready.
Okay, hi everybody. My name is Chelsea, and today I want to talk to you about something that I'm sure you all have heard about before. You may not know that many details or statistics or things that go along with it, but it is very, very, very important. And my main objective today is to hopefully motivate you to either do this action or at least consider it, think about it, research it, and then really consider your decision and what you think that you want to do with it. I'm going to talk to you about organ donation, and I first just want to talk to you about why that topic is so important. I don't feel like that it gets talked about, and I don't see commercials, and I don't see it all over the media, and it's, you know, something that saves lives. So I do believe it is very important and something that does need to be discussed. As of right now, there are over 115,000 people on the waiting list, waiting for all different types of organ transplant surgeries. And that list grows every day. There's about one person every 10 minutes added to that list, about 4,000 people a day. So as that number grows, then we also have to look at the other side, that everybody on that list is not going to get the transplant before it's too late, and they end up passing away waiting on that.
Is that number in America or worldwide?
America, U.S. Now, about 6,500 people a year die waiting on that list. And they average that out to say about 18 people a day. So look around at 18 people that in this class, or you pass in the hallway, or think of 18 people or 5, 10 people in your family, friends, people that you love could be gone tomorrow. And this is something that can totally be prevented most of the time. There are certain cases where, you know, the body may not take the organ or it may reject it and things like that. But all in all, it is something that can hopefully be fixed and prevented. One donor, one person, if you register to be an organ donor, and worst case scenario, God forbid, you did pass away, just you alone could save the lives of up to 8 people. You alone, 8 people. So me, and you became organ donors, 8 times 3, 24 lives could be saved by 3 people. And those are, I mean, that's a pretty big number. And also throughout this, I want you to remember that these numbers that I'm saying, they're not numbers. They're mothers, fathers, grandmothers, nieces, nephews, little babies, children. I mean, there's like over 1,500 pediatric patients on this waiting list as well. And that just like really touches my heart, especially if I were to think if my daughter needed an organ transplant and we were just waiting and waiting and waiting, and I knew that her life could be saved if just one person would donate that organ, and they did, and I mean, that's just devastating. And, you know, this also goes not just to the patient who's waiting on the organ, it's their whole family, their friends, people that love them. They're going through this with them, and they're playing the waiting game too. And I imagine that every time the phone rings, they're thinking, is that the phone call? Is that the doctor? Is that going to be the phone call that's going to change my life or save my life? And I mean, I feel like that would be a very unfulfilling way to have to live out the rest of your life. People say that they have fears of dying because they think that being set on fire or suffocating or drowning would be terrible, horrible ways to die, and I completely agree. But I would also say that right up there at the top of that list of horrible ways to die would be a death of waiting. Just spending your life waiting, knowing that you could be saved with just a phone call. I mean, I don't think anybody would want to live out the rest of their days doing that. Or, I mean, it's just, even if they were trying to put on a front and a smile and trying, you know, push through and look strong, you know that in the back of their mind, that's all they're thinking about. And it's always probably in the pit of their stomach. And that's probably always what their loved ones are thinking about as well. And nobody can feel or live a fulfilled, happy life if that's going on internally inside of their bodies. There are a lot of myths that kind of go along with organ donation that sometimes scare people off. I just want to talk about a couple of those. Some people think that if like you are critically injured and you're rushed into the emergency room and the doctor sees on your paperwork or on your license that you're an organ donor, people think that that doctor is not going to work as hard to save your life because you're an organ donor. So if you do pass, well then we might could save 8 people's lives. So your life really isn't that important compared to 8 other people's lives. But that is obviously not the case. Doctors do not look at it that way whatsoever. When you go in that condition, the doctor's first and main objective is you and only you, to stabilize you, sustain your life, do whatever they have to do to save your life. And then in worst case scenario, and in the event that they can't, then, like I said, if you were an organ donor and you were registered or you had informed a loved one about it, then your organs could be matched with whoever's in your area. Your name will be on a registry so they can match and see if you could be a match for a potential patient and you could save their lives. People think that if they become an organ donor that they won't be able to have like an open casket funeral. Now, I don't want you to try and take this to like morbid and death and funerals and caskets, but I mean that's just basically what it is, unfortunately. But even if you are an organ donor, you can have an open casket funeral. Your family can view you. There should be no visible signs. You're of course going to be clothed in your casket, hopefully. You were the only one in the class I thought that might have a last wish in their will that I want to be buried nude or something. But if you know, if as long as you don't want to be buried nude, you know, you'll have clothes on, so you'll be able to see any suture marks or anything like that, and they will make you look just as beautiful as you were in your everyday life. So that's something that is a myth that's not really true at all. People may say, well, I think that's against my religion, or, you know, I don't really think my religion supports that. But after doing a lot of research, I realized that organ donation is consistent with almost all religions. Even the Amish community support it. And I figure if the Amish thinks it's okay, then it must be top up here, a golden rule, like you should be a good pass for that. You might win a couple of extra brownie points with the man upstairs if you were to be an organ donor and he knew that you gave that last gift of life to somebody else, even though you're not even going to be aware that you're doing it. You'll be passed. You know, people say that when you die, you can't take your money with you, but you can't take your organs with you. You can't take anything with you. So, I mean, it would almost be selfish on some type of level not to be an organ donor, because they're just going to go in the ground and rot, unfortunately. Not to sound morbid again, but I mean, it's almost selfish. You don't need them, so why not save the life of somebody else? Like, pretend it was your mother and she's on this waiting list and she needs a kidney, and you know, you're just praying every day, God, I hope she gets it, I hope she gets it, I hope she gets it. And you know, this person passed away and they could have donated their organs and they chose not to, and that could have saved your mother's life, and it didn't. And now, like I said, not only your mother has to go through it, but you do, and the rest of the family, and it affects everybody. Now I want to talk to you just a little bit about who can become an organ donor. And basically, anybody can. As long as you're 18 years or older, you can fill it out when you go to renew your driver's license. You can fill out the form there and check it, and they will actually add it to your license that you are a registered organ donor. And there's a few websites, there's probably multiple websites you can go to online to register. If you know, hopefully when you go home, this will still be heavy on your heart and in your mind, and if you discuss this with your loved ones, friends, family. If they're under 18, they just need the consent of an adult or legal guardian. Even as an adult, if you haven't registered to be an organ donor, but you're thinking about it, tell a family member, tell a loved one, and let them know. So if you were to pass, they knew that those were your wishes. The last thing I want to talk to you about in conclusion is just that I want you to, like I said, think about this as real people. These aren't just numbers. I mean, 18 people a day die. One person can save up to 8 lives. In 2011, they only had roughly 15,000 organ donors, that's living and deceased organ donors. And out of that 15,000, they were able to provide over 28,000 organ transplants, just with that little bit of number. So one person can make a huge difference. So I just ask you, I hope I've motivated you to at least think about this. Go home, go online to donatelife.net. You can read the statistics, do your own research there. You can register on that website to become the organ donor. You can print off your card so that you have that to carry around with you. You don't have to print it off. Your name will automatically go into the state registry, so you are listed. While I was doing the research, registered to be an organ donor, because I'm not going to stand up here and preach to you all about how important something is and for you all to do it if I'm not going to do it myself. So I am a registered organ donor, and hopefully you all will take the time maybe to go home and do it today. We are not promised tomorrow, so while you're on there, while you're researching it, go ahead, register, sign up now and do it, because you may not get the chance to tomorrow and it may be too late. So I thank you for your time, and I hope that you all will really consider this and think about it longer today. Thank you.